Welcome to Looking Deeper. This is Denise Iwana Francisco. And gee, it's really good to see you all, to feel you all. It's good to be here tonight. And Sandy Herrick is looking to dial in from her place in New Hampshire. And we're excited to be together tonight to talk about some things that we think that you'll find interesting, and to talk a little bit about where we've been in the past couple of weeks with regard to gatherings and ceremonies and sacred. So it's good to see you all. Lady Hawk, I see that you are in the chat room. Welcome. Welcome to everybody else who's checking in. And for those of you who care to, if you would like to like and share the show, that would be fantastic. Hey, Jennifer, it's good to see you again, too. They're gearing up for the next class at the Temple Within School of Sacred Studies. That is with Mervyn Kelly and Tracy Civic, and Introduction to Crystals, working with crystals. And I'm very excited to announce that Mervyn and Tracy have written a brand new manual, a book, called Introduction to Working with Crystals, and excited about that. And it looks like Sandy is dialing in. Hey, Sandy.
The phone won't connect either, so I'm going to be on the phone with you.
Okay, we're live. We've got people.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So until they get internet service there in New Hampshire, here we are, everybody. So you're looking at me, and you are also listening to Sandra Herrick. Good evening, Sandy.
Good evening. I'm going to try again on Believe TV and see if it comes, but I'm going to talk to you in the meantime, and it seems to be very, very slow.
Okay.
So how are you? Welcome, everybody. It is so good to be here. Thank you for not just coming, but for being curious enough to find out what it's all about, including your own soul. My frogs are croaking. The rain is raining. I'm on the back porch. Happy summer, everybody.
It's a beautiful evening. Hello, Cindy Lynn. It's good to see you in the chat room. And again, if you would care to like and share, that would be fantastic. Welcome to Looking Deeper. And Sandy, if you would, as we always do when we get together, if you would be so kind as to share something of a centering to bring us into sacred space.
Absolutely. No, this is such a special time. It's in the middle of a season.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, it's something we wait for. It's something we look forward to in being. And then all of a sudden, here we are. So take a deep breath. And allow yourself to be present. I am literally watching a hummingbird sitting on the feeder. The rain is gently falling. The green is so green and lush. The flowers are so brilliant in color. And allow your environment to embrace you, to bring you the joy, the magnificence of its full bloom. Allowing it to mirror for you something that has bloomed inside you, that has been waiting to find the sun, be beckoned by the sun, and to stand tall and to spread its petals and arch itself into the fullness and the glory of being. Deep breath, gentle breath, and be aware that who you are today is you. Welcome to the expression of your soul. Our frog is very communicative.
That frog has a whole lot to say this evening. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. There's no way I can be in a room all locked up. This is like perfect summer.
It is beautiful outside. Hey, Lady Hawk and Linda Claflin and Audra DeVries. I just ran into Audra. I wrapped up with my clients at like 6:40, and at 6:45 I was outside with Gabriel, and there was Audra. So, and now she's checking into the show tonight. So
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hi, Audra. Hi, Linda. Hi, everybody.
So, Sandy, how are you doing after talking about gatherings and what is sacred? And tonight we're talking about rites of passage. I mean, that's a great subject.
Yes. Well, I'm talking about rites of passage because you single-handedly offered me the opportunity to come and meet Guy Dull Knife, to meet the sun dancers, to go out to Rapid City and be a part of something that is so ancient and old that in its expressing itself, it's asking to be new and current. And the rite of passage that I want everybody to be able to stand with inside themselves as we talk tonight is the beauty of, what does a rite of passage even mean, Dana? What does it represent to mean that? Because I want to talk about how you have been brought into another realm of your own passage and the work it takes to prepare for it, and then the process of being in it and the recovery it needs and requires after the fact of walking through.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I want to simply say thank you. To the universe, I want to offer the gratitude of not forgetting my soul in time, no matter what time it is in the universe. And into my spirit, I want to appreciate the generosity of its willingness to take an adventure into the dis-ease of comfort and find how comfortable it is to not have anything other than your bare wits about you and the rawness of paying attention. What do you have to say about that? Because that's where we went when we went to South Dakota.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, a rite of passage is a time in our lives where we're either placed purposefully into a situation, a ceremony, that changes us from the interior mostly, and possibly the exterior of our world as well. And sometimes a rite of passage is something that spontaneously happens. We find ourselves somewhere going through a situation or in relationship with spirit, with earth, with nature, that brings us through to a deeper part of ourselves, or to a part of ourselves we never knew existed and has been waiting all along to blossom and bloom. So I believe a rite of passage is sometimes very purposeful, as you and I went through lots of ceremonies out on the reservation. Together, we witnessed them, participated in them, and sometimes they're spontaneous. We find ourselves in them and we think, oh my goodness, I will never be the same because I had that experience. Would you agree with those, Sandy?
Right. Absolutely. And there's the beauty of knowing that the endeavor takes some doing.
Yes.
It's not something that, oh, look, here I am. I just wanted it and I have it. It's, holy mother, here I am. And I'm getting it, even if I didn't know I wanted it or not. But here it is because my soul wanted it, not my vanity, not my ego, not my expectation of I deserve it. That to me, when a rite of passage is presented to you, rather than you say, I want to do it, I'm available to be a part of it.
Yes.
That's a very different statement of intention. And also, when a rite of passage beckons to you, that's even more of a threshold of, oh my God, Spirit sees me. Spirit believes and knows that I'm ready, even though I do not, and calls me to the task of humility, respect, and the courage to endure what it is that I feel either I would fail or not worthy of, or couldn't I, and just stay in the moment and go, it doesn't matter what I think, I'm going in, and I will be available.
I'm going in.
I'm going in, and I want to say that because when at the end of your all-night experience in the Inipi, in having vision, in setting yourself up, in being set up actually by the tribe in the sacred ways of holy space, sacred space, vulnerable space. And then to be a part of, God bless Lily, an all-night drive out through the Badlands to get to the good land of intention. And to be there in the morning, to walk into the Inipi and to sit with Chief Dull Knife, to sit with Barb and Dell, and to sit with the tribal members, the family, and to sit in my own paranoia or claustrophobia of the dark or the heat or being enclosed, and being told by Dell, just breathe, hold the towel in front of you, and to track each breath. I don't know if anybody's ever done this, but to be able to track every breath, every inhalation with, I'm breathing, I'm exhaling, I'm okay, I'm hot. It's getting hotter, I'm breathing, I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling, and to know that I was not going to fail spirit by feeling I am weaker than it feels I am. To find that space inside me that spirit says, you're going to do this, and you're going to qualify yourself. I think that's very important to say, Dana, in how spirit says, when the challenge for the initiation is, I know you're available to be qualified, but you have to qualify yourself, which has been, how do you pray for it? How do you prepare for it? How do you muscle up for it? How do you not give an expectation, but go back into the dignity of, it's all by the seat of your pants, no matter what.
Well, there are rites of passage that your soul is called to, and what Sandy is referring to is what's known as Hamblecha or Vision Quest. And I was told, how Spirit informs us quite a long time ago, that I was to undergo Hamblecha or Vision Quest again. Hamblecha literally means crying for a dream. And the preparation for that is well, for me, it was a year long in preparing for what it was that I was going to undergo physically, but also what I was going to undergo spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And those around me who would be participating or holding space. In this particular Hamblecha, it was done a bit differently than normally. You put up literally on the top of a hill by yourself on a sacred altar with your prayers, with the request for the vision that you are seeking. And in this case, it was held within Inipi. It's not done very often. And I was happy that my brother Guy and Ivan Looking Horse felt that I was ready for that form of Hamblecha. But I didn't go into it popping onto Pine Ridge and saying, hey, I think I'll do a Hamblecha today. It was something that was prepared for, because with any sacred ceremony, with any rite of passage that is done consciously, we're never ever the same when we come out of the other end of the Hamblecha, of baptism, of a marriage, confirmation, bat mitzvah. all of those kind of things. When we go in with a good heart and with a good mind, we're never ever the same, because we're not supposed to be, or we wouldn't be undergoing a rite of passage. So preparation in spending even more time in prayer, meditation every day about where I was going, what I was going to be in there for, and also preparing for the festivities that happen upon the completion of, and choosing those people and inviting those people who would be my supporters. Because if you are doing Vision Quest, whether it's for 1 day or 2 or 3 or 4 solitary, there are people who are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to support you. In my case, Kevin Spencer was my fire tender. And of course, my nephews were there as well. George and Daniel and all of those kinds of relatives were there to support their auntie in her humble age. But Kevin Spencer was my fire keeper. And Lily and Kelly were there all night, overnight, outdoors around the Inipi. And my sisters, some of them slept in their cars, Della and Del Marie and Barbara, and Sandy, to be present with me in that space. So it's not only a commitment for me undergoing the rite of passage, but a commitment for those that wish to support me in my commitment. So what was it like for you to prepare yourself on some level, Sandy, to come out and participate in that ceremony and the others that we were there? Rites of passage for many people through Sundance, naming ceremonies, making of relative ceremonies.
First and foremost, I want to be able to express to everybody the timelessness of entering into a space that is ceremony that has no reference to the everyday life that I'm familiar with. So what's fascinating, and I want everybody to be able to comprehend the quest and then the challenge to keep the promise to get there. That the thunder and lightning spirits, literally in a plane, I mean, oh my God, it gives me the shivers to even say it, because even up until the other day, I was still in the throes of the thunder beings and the lightning beings every time I was in a plane. And to literally be up in the sky, and this is the first time I've ever been on a plane where I left my seat from the plane dropping. So there seems to be a scenario of getting to the South Dakota through a rainstorm, through lightning, having to stay in the plane, having Lily, hang on, gal, prayers are rising, to know that I will be picked up in the middle of nowhere, which is somewhere, and then driven through the night by Kelly's daughter and Lily, and to go into the Badlands and to see light in the sky that was guiding, and to know that spirits were challenging me and also viably preparing me to know that this was fragile. This was life and death. Mm-hmm. That this is a ceremony that is not for the weak of heart, or is it a ceremony for us to assume we know the outcome? There's no guarantee. To go through the Badlands and literally shred myself from any sense of light other than spirits, because there is no light. There's a beacon over here, there's a beacon over there, and then for me to say to Lily, Lily, there's light in the sky and there's no stars. And to be supple, I think the best way I can say it, and I can even feel the rattle in me as I say, to be vulnerable to the consequences of spirit looking directly into me and saying, whatever's in you is going to be dealt with, Sandy. So if you're going to purge, you're going to purge. If you're going to cry, you're going to cry, but tears from another place. If you're going to stand up, you better stand strong. If you're going to fall, go completely down. But if you're going to look me in the eye, be available to see what I see, not what I hope to see, what it shows me. And so I slept alone in a car, the front seat of the car, and had a vision as I was dozing off at, 1:30 in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock, maybe it could have been 3 o'clock, God, I forget the time. But, to know that all flights were delayed, all flights were chaotic. The thunder and lightning was so strong, and that the atmosphere was under some, I would say, attack. But it felt more like a divining rod, arcing energy that said, if you can get through this atmospheric pressure, then you're coming through the passage of fire and light. And to stay strong and not give in. To know that I was now on the Lakota reservation, to know that I was on the land of a chief, of the war chief, to know that you were already sequestered in something that I had to let go of you, in a way of, that makes me want to cry. You will be alive or dead in the morning. Literally. You'll be filled with spirit, or you'll be spirit full. And to know and to hear Lily's devotion when, I'm going to come get you, Sandy, but we're coming back here, Dana. And to know that that was an hour plus ride in the dark. Us out, GPS telling us, you don't rely on us, you have to find your way. And to trust the magnificence of some guiding energy that just kept saying, over here, over here, over here. And to feel the sacred layers, Dana. For everybody that's listening or hears in time what we're talking about, to hear the layers of energy that encircled. First there's the fire with the stones, the sweat, you, the land that you're sitting on, which a sacred site of over 100 years of sweat lodge for a tribe that is so devoted to peace. And to feel that I'm on the outskirts of one of the layers, like a warrior that is, I'm going to slumber, and if you wake me up, I'm a warrior. I'm very clear of that. And if you're trying to get to her, you're going to have to get through me. And if you get through me, there's another layer. There's Barbara, there's Dell. And if you get through Barbara and Dell, well, then there's Guy. And if you get through Guy, God damn it, there be Lilith. And if you get through Larry, and then if you get through that, you still are going to have to open up that flap. And to know that the layers of all that energy, when I started to go into sleep time, I had a vision. And the vision, I'm going to keep quiet about. All I can say is that the vision manifested itself in real time during the morning. And the reason why I'm being quiet about it is because there is a potency when vision says, I'm showing you not just what's happening, but I'm showing you the timelessness of how life happens. And to float in that, Dana, with you, with the ancientness of the Lakota tribe, with the hope for the Lakota tribe, It's that quietness of saying, I'm floating in the centuries of reality that are not just timeless, but infinite in how life promises to continue. And I want to say that in the morning when I went there and then all of a sudden the vision materialized in real time, it was beautiful because what I saw at night was internal, and then Spirit showed me in the daylight external. And it allowed the validation that it exists. I'll say one more thing before I ask you to please share, is that I remember when I walked in to the Inipi and saw you, you were translucent, you were beyond fatigued, but you were also almost transparent from being so available to the prayed for vision that the tribe was praying for in the vision you said I'll go and find. And then to sit in the Inipi and sweat with an ancient soul, what is resulted from that is I can only be in the here and now, second by second, honoring the fact that whatever time is, it's bigger than my sense of time.
Yes.
And in that timelessness, it's every moment is precious. And if we forget that, we're not alive.
Kelly is saying yes.
Yeah, Kelly. And I want to thank Nicole, Kelly's daughter, for being the sidekick on the buckboard ride from Lily all the way back. Amazing. So that's what I have to say about it. What would you like to add?
Well, when it comes to rite of passage, ceremony and sacred is just that. It's sacred. And it's interesting because for some people, the word sacred means secret. And for other people, the word sacred means holding it in high regard. And for some, it's a combination of both. So, for instance, you know, in Native tradition and in many traditions, when ceremony is going on, no photos are taken. The photos wait until after ceremony and usually away from the ceremonial ground. And then there are times when we can talk about ceremony. And frankly, I had never been asked before by the person, the medicine man or the Wichachawakan, the holy man, to share with everybody that which I felt comfortable sharing about the vision that was received and was had.
Right.
And in this case, Ivan Looking Horse is the one that put me in ceremony. So he made sure that I had everything that I needed with regard to prayer ties and spirit food and all of those kinds of things. And my sisters also made sure that I was well prepared, you know, with supplies and those things that I would need, supplies outside of food and water, because you don't participate in food and water
Right.
while you're in the ceremony. But what I'm saying is it takes a community,
yes,
to create sacred rites and sacred ceremony and to not take it lightly. Hence, you know, who is around you when you're going through a rite of passage in your life? It's not always the people that you suspect will be there. Sometimes there are some surprises as to who shows up when we're going through a sacred rite. For me, the following morning, or the morning that Ivan came and loaded his pipe, and the interior altar was taken down, and others were invited in for the last 2 rounds of this sweat, of the inipi, the purification. It was wonderful to see. I said to Sandy, that I knew she was there because I first saw her toenails, her bright pink toenail polish, right? So I was like, oh my God, they are here. Lily did come back after going all the way to Rapid City to get Sandy and bring her back to the ceremonies. But to know myself that ceremony was being held by those that I love,
Right.
and the next day also participated in by those that I love, all the way up until the fourth and final day of the Vision Quest, when we did ceremony in the Black Hills near the Wild Horse Sanctuary to wrap up the ceremony. Every moment of it was, I really like the way you say it, that it's about being, well, Philip Whiteman, who is a chief of the Northern Cheyenne people, he always says it's not about being on time, it's about being in time.
Exactly.
And I would say that a rite of passage such as that one is about being in time, not on time. And there's a big difference about being in time, being present in the now, being present both physically and spiritually. But for me, being in an altar such as that for receiving a vision and in that manner, because it isn't something that we do every day, but again, knowing that not only those that I love are around me, but those that I love who are also very, very spiritual, strong people were holding space for me, that it's priceless. It's priceless, because I know that whatever is going on in my ceremony is going to affect all of you, not only that day in the heat of the NEP, but for the following days. Just as it does anytime we go through ceremony, it's not done in a vacuum. Whether it's a funeral that we've attended, whatever it happens to be, there are many layers and many people that are involved, and our lives collectively are never the same.
What I thought was also beautiful when you asked how did I prepare was, once I really started feeling or sensing the profoundness of being invited, and then feeling the intensity of where I was being invited to, and then knowing that my medicine is shared with Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't stand alone. That, and this brings to tears, is that I asked of Bobby, my husband, to bring the medicine of unicorn fields.
Oh, yeah.
And about a week and a half just before I was getting ready to go, it was like, holy mother, this is bigger than I realized, and I better buckle up, and tighten my seatbelt. But I also needed to come with a gift from who he and I are in the medicine of us, and the male and the female and the land that this Unicorn Fields has been made of, that has supported you, supported Lily, supports Gathering Thunder, and supports the sacredness, and now has become a rainbow bridge too.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's not just me, it is the companionship of Bobby, and that he has some medicine that is not mine, but his.
Mm-hmm.
That I needed to ask to bring with me, so that when I go to the chief, when I go to the sacred site, when I go to the land, I come with not just Sandy, but how Sandy lives and who she's loved by, and what spirit is doing and soul is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Bobby to make an object of holiness for the chief. And it was amazing to see that out of the innocence of asking that request, that one of the horns that is in your fan
Mm-hmm.
is now the other horn in this object, in this sacred objects that Bobby has designed and made Horsehair from Wink and Buddy, and Tail from Farley and Willie, and Alexander's feathers, and he was so pristine, and even shaving, going to the jeweler of our wedding rings to carve from the spine of my horse Velvet. And he didn't even realize it. That there is something out of the ancient knit of Bobby's soul that supports me, that supports the adventure, that it supports the, I want to say it in the name of Todd and for all the men that were there. We need a vibration of unity for male and female.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of be the governors, the mistresses, the godfathers, the godmothers for the children that you had your vision for, and to show a chief of such might as Guy Dullknife that his journey is honored at every step of his journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that we want his wisdom from his journey to touch us in our dreams, in our souls, in the children, in the animals, and into the massive intelligence of Mother Earth. So what Bobby created was a gesture from our Mother Earth to Rapid Cities, to the Lakota Mother Earth. And it was my honor and my humility to say, my husband made a gift for you. And because I am honored to be his wife, I can carry this gift to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I stand as an equal with all of you in knowing we're not separate. And we have to start somehow learning we're not separate.
That's right. I feel really that as a collective consciousness of human beings, we're also going through a rite of passage. And when we were at Sundance, my granddaughter Isabella is a Sundancer, and it was fourth day of Sundance, and we were all there to support Isabella as she was Sundancing. And both Guy and Ivan got up to address everybody in the Sundance Arbor, and both of them talked about the fact that it's time to get along.
Yes.
That it's time, this me and you and they and them, those days are long gone, that we can only do it together. We can only manifest change or a good rite of passage together. And that was really a theme, not only, in listening inside the NEP during Humblecha, but at the Sundance, at the making of the relatives, at the naming ceremony. That was the theme by all of the elders who took a moment to speak, by the holy man, Richard Broken Nose. Everybody talked about the fact that there is no us and them. It's us. It's
right.
We. And I think that your point is so beautifully taken, in that you brought the gift, by the way, was absolutely spectacular. Kelly, you are so right about that.
Thank you, Kelly.
Beautiful medicine stick that Bobby created. And Guy was so moved by that. He said, it will be with me forever.
Exactly.
That's what he said when he received it. But the fact that you brought Unicorn Fields, yourself, Bobby, the animals there, and the energy of New Hampshire, frankly, of New England,
right,
there to Potato Creek in such a beautiful way is exactly what all of the elders were talking about. It's about we, and who are you? Who am I? I'd like to get to know you better. Let's get to know one another better, and let's make this world here on, life here on Grandmother, a better place for everybody. I think that I feel that the medicine stick is a representation of that.
Yes. Yes. That there's dignity, respect, and humility all at the same time. And that we are peers, no matter
Yes.
what we think we are, we're
Mhm.
peers. And we're all worth listening to, and we're all available to say something. At the Sundance, going to the next ceremony, it was beautiful for me to be a quote-unquote white girl standing in the canopy of the shade as tribal members that have committed to a 4-year commitment to dance
Yes.
in the blazing sun, half naked, women, in their garb, in their skins, in their dress, and dressed in sage, to dance for 4 days in segments of time. Again, it's another one of those things where my might was brought from something in the inside of me that says, if they're standing and dancing, I'm standing and dancing. Get off your ass and dance. This is not something to be a spectator at and go, oh, look at that. It's something to participate with and to not falter. Because I'm in the shade and they're in the sun, and they have fasted and they have made a commitment. And it was wonderful to be caught by the eyes of the spirits,
yes,
looking at me through the eyes of the dancers that were in trance and in the euphoria of their fasts and their devotion to the tempo of a sacred drum. And to see some spiritual spirit pierce me with, so who are you? What are you doing here? You think you can dance? Let's see you dance. And then all of a sudden to find my rhythm, to find my separateness from everybody, and dance in the solitude of my commitment to spirit. Not, I'm with Dana and Todd and Lily and Kelly and her family. I'm protective. No, to go out of it and stand in my own orb and make my commitment without, I'm not going to lean on anybody. I'm going to stand with myself and have spirit challenge me that I will find these eyes because I'm looking into these eyes to find me. And when Barbara gave me the gift of her granddaughter's bracelet of sage, to know that, then she said later, that lady, she inspired me to dance because I watched her dance. She kept me dancing, and I thought, what? I'm just the white chick over here in the white blouse and some skirt I bought in the airport. I'm rocking and rolling. And I'm rocking and rolling in that place that wherever it is that my soul needed to be, I wanted to be available for my soul to take me there. And it is amazing to know that our skin may look like something because it has something to look like in this lifetime. But my soul was transparent to how many lifetimes I danced already on that ground.
Yes.
And I am grateful that I watched sacred ceremony not be denied the right to be performed by any government, by any hierarchy, or by any agency that demeans one's right to celebrate their relationship with sacred. It's that radical. So I love
Timeless.
dancing. We did dance.
Well, and because, don't no different than those that held a very different form of energy for me during my vision quest, including many of you that are watching right now or listening. I could feel your prayers for me. And frankly,
Yes.
I brought all of you into prayer with me inside the Humblecha, inside my altar, and held all of you that do participate in the shows, that do
Yes.
listen to the shows, watch the shows, come to the school, that are engaged with me at any level, for you and those that you love, to hold you in that sacred space of prayer. And when you are sun dancing, to have those on the outside that are dancing with you and for you, letting you know that they're supporting your prayer, letting you know that they're supporting what it is that your vision for your prayer might be, is huge. And so, myself, Sandy, Lily, Barbara, Della, Del Marie, Kelly, Kevin, Todd, all of us dancing and singing the songs and participating. And all of those things are so valued and held in such regard, because a lot of the old rites of passage are passing away to the sands of time.
Right.
And there are many people, Ivan talked about this, that there are a lot of people that are practicing the medicine ways that really have no business practicing the medicine ways, but people are being brought into an interest of the ancient ways, which is giving those in the know, those that know the old ways, the opportunity to learn them in an appropriate way. So whether it's there at Sundance with the elders or what have you, or listening to Del Marie on her monthly show, there are elders that are out there wanting to pass along the ceremonies in a good way to those with a good red heart. And I think that exists amongst all people who are still practicing or trying to keep alive the old ways, the old rites of passage. And in the thought of, we all need to get along and we all need to really appreciate one another in our similarity and our uniqueness, there is the thought that, Sandy, your hair may be blonde, your eyes may be bright blue, and your skin might be very, very white, but it wasn't missed by anybody who was there watching you get into the rhythm of the dance. And obviously, very deep in prayer as you were dancing, it didn't matter. Any of those things didn't matter. But what was very clear was your heart being very, very red, and your intention being that of the support of those who were praying in such an ancient way. And so when Isabella gifted you with her wrist wrapping of sage, that was a way of thanking you for being present in all aspects of that word present. And the other thing that was quite beautiful is that, my husband Todd and Kevin Spencer were both present, and both of them were wearing ribbon shirts, honoring shirts. And they never missed a beat either while they were there. And none of the dancers deep in prayer missed that. And so on the final moments of the Sundance, where all of the dancers come out and thank everyone who's been there to support, both Kevin and Todd were gifted by some of the Sun dancers who recognized that, yes, here is this African-American man and clearly this very Viking man, but both were there wearing honoring ribbon shirts, honoring, supporting, saying, I honor you.
Yes.
And none of that ever passes by anybody.
No.
And what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing to enjoy the ancientness in the modern day. Because, frankly, when we are in ancient sacred space, whether it's Scandinavian or Hawaiian, or in this case, Native American, it's our ancient self that shows up. Because if anything less than our ancientness shows up, that's usually called ego or wanting to be a looky-loo. But when our ancientness shows up, those that are participating in an ancient rite see that beyond the skin. Does that make sense, Sandy?
Well, it's more than making sense, because in the opportunity, my frog is getting closer and closer and closer.
Yeah, he's quite.
I'm going to kiss him soon, and he turns into my Prince Bobby the Trouble. So as you were talking and revving up, there's that beautiful space of feeling that the dancers, and I didn't even think about this until really just now, of that as we were in that beautiful circle, that was, again, that band of energy that held the interior where they were dancing. As I'm feeling it right now, it's the aftermath of reality catching up with me, that I'm watching them. But it really didn't hit me until just now at the level of, oh my God, that they were watching us for support, for ballast, for inspiration to withstand the endurance of their endeavor. And that to see Kevin and Todd in their masculinity go shoulder to shoulder energetically with the women and the men. To see all the circle, we as women, to offer to the men and to the women. We were dancing with them, not necessarily for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that our energy was offered to them to siphon, to drink from,
Mm-hmm.
as they thirst, because they were so in the depths of fasting.
Yes.
And that our eyes were available for them to look into and to pull the, yes, I see what you're doing. Yes, I see your devotion. Yes, I see your faith. Yes, I see your endurance. Yes, I see your pain. If anybody wants to know what pain is, to watch someone endure that type of sacrifice. I'm in a convenienced space of something that is very different than that which is the ultimate sacrifice of I will dance, to sacrifice my sanity, to go into the elixir of spirit,
Mm-hmm.
to see vision, to purge, to pass out, to alter my reality at such a level that I am empty of me.
Mm-hmm.
So spirit fills me.
Yes.
It is it's wearisome. How weary they were at the last round, and how elevated they were when they came by to say thank you.
Yes.
And I know in my own soul that the one who taught me to dance was that scraggly, old, wonderful man that held his fan of eagle feathers and had an attitude and an agitation. And it was like, I want to dance like you.
Yes.
You got spark and fire, and I'm going to be there. And to know that when he came to me and he looked me in the eye, that I could say to him, thank you, you taught me to dance.
Mm-hmm.
That I wasn't mimicking someone, I was encouraged by someone. And that, I think, is true mentorship for all of us.
Yes.
That whenever we are looking at a mentor, You know, there is that idolization of, oh, I want to be like you. Oh, you're my, you know, I want to grow up and be you when I grow up. Or, oh, that's the way I want to be. And a true mentor says, you know, you may see me and want to be me. What I'm reflecting to you is the spark in you that feels sparked by seeing me.
Yes.
To be you.
I like that.
And then when I felt that ignite in me, and I could be without any fear of that, now whatever I'm doing in this dance is my body doing the dance the way I do it, not wondering if I could or should I do it this way or that way. I was dancing.
Yes, you were.
And I went into the elixir of my spirit and I don't know where we are. We just know we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And where we are is everywhere.
Yes.
And that to me is that purge of, I have to know where I am. I've got to hang on. I've got to know reality. And, you know, for me, I think one of the greatest things of the whole adventure for me that had, you know, it's taken almost 2 weeks because I continued it and even until the other day coming back on the airplane, is that there's that place of something inside me imploded.
Mm.
Something inside me completely collapsed. Something inside of me fell to the ground, to meet the ground. And I am being very literal in knowing that however I was picked up and supported and moved through, okay, something has annihilated you, Sandy, from a life you thought you were, and you walk now another life the way the rest of your life will walk. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Rites of passage and sacred rites do that. It's what is my life now and who am I in this new life? I was talking to Barbara the other day and she said, Somi Tankala, are you back in your body yet? Are you back yet? And I said, I don't think I'll ever be back the same way that I was before. And I'm figuring out who it is now and what it is that I'm walking now. And that's good.
Right.
And for me, the beauty of it as well is that during, you know, the 4 days of Hamblecha for me, I also participated in things such as Sundance and the making of the relatives. And one of the absolute highlights for me was the naming ceremony and being the sponsor for my niece. And not even being fully back in my human body at that point because I was still very much in my spirit body because the 4 days had not ended.
Right.
But the honor of holding up a prayer inside the Hamblecha to receive the name that my niece would wear for the rest of her life,
right,
was big.
Right.
And the magnitude of that was not lost on me. And Richard Broken Nose and Ivan Looking Horse both talked about how we wear our name.
That was so beautiful.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yes. And so when I told her father the name that was given to me for her inside the Hamblecha, and when I told her what the name that was given to me for her inside Hamblecha, it was not lost on me that for generations, this name will be part of family history for her. But what I thoroughly enjoyed then, as her sponsor was going up to the MC, you know, podium and explaining how the name came.
Right.
And why it came and what her name reflects about her. And so there was a lot of joy in that for me. And in listening to all of the other sponsors talk about the name, whether it was the name of a relative who had already walked this earth or a name that was given to them in prayer, what the name was and why.
Yes.
And to watch everyone who was receiving their Indian name, or they just call it their Indian name, the sense of joy that washed over them, and the sense of sacredness that washed over them. For me, it was absolutely priceless, and clearly it was a highlight for me.
To see Guy's son, Jeffrey, receive his name.
Yes.
And exactly what you're saying, to see everybody all of a sudden know I'm named for who my soul is, not just what my body has been labeled.
Yeah.
What I loved was hearing Ivan and Guy and anybody pick it up to say how they discovered the name, because each person who offered the name had to go and was asked to come talk about how you found the name. It is amazing to hear the depth of someone say, I prayed, I prayed, I prayed, I prayed. They didn't ask, let me say it this way. They didn't say, well, I decided that I'm going to label them, and because of me, they're going to have this name, and they'll know this name because of me. It was literally the most humblest and deepest of almost the anxiety. Well, more than almost, there was anxiety present in the sharing of my prayers needed to find the name. It didn't come in my first prayer. It didn't come in my second prayer. It didn't come in my third prayer. It didn't come the first time I asked. It came after many prayers and deep listening.
Yes.
And then to finally have the words form the name, and the name be so talked about in the way it's broken down, so that a person can hear your name comes from some deep residue of the ancestors, past, present, and future. And to see each of the individuals, and there was a huge, beautiful crest made in the next family circuit, right there in the Badlands, out in the open. Again, another ancient ceremony where someone says, I know who you are, and now you know who you are. And bring that to everybody from this day forward.
Yeah.
It was also the symbology of seeing how in other religions, when when you're baptized, your name is anointed upon you in the Catholic religion, and then when you are given your confirmation, then you're given another name is added to your name, and then when you get married, you then take another name, and so it's interesting how our name morphs. And in my own name, it allowed me to feel the rightness of, for me, my name is Sandra Louise Herrick, a.k.a. Candy. And even though I was married, 40 some odd years ago, and had another name, I took my maiden name back because I'm Sandy Herrick. In being married, even to Bobby, it's like, Bobby, I'm Sandy Herrick. This life is about Sandy Herrick. And to be able to wear the name for whatever it means, that if it was tried to be altered or morphed or stretched or conformed, it's about how I resonate. And I listened to you specifically and to other people speak about how the name that they found in their prayers challenged them to be brave enough to say, this is the name that the prayers give to you.
Yes.
And to watch each person hear their name with such joy. Now I can listen to the sound of who I am.
Yeah.
and be known.
Yeah.
It brings tears to me to even say, because not everybody has that camaraderie within the tone of their name,
Mm-hmm.
and the celebrating of when they say their name, that this is the vibration of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is the song of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I can sing my name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a naming ceremony to sit there. And God bless Lily. Lily, I love you because you can kick my butt in the middle of something sacred.
Yes, she can.
Companion.
Yes, she can.
Oh my God, everybody, here we were given this beautiful ceremony where they scooped out buffalo meat and cherries that have been prepared over time, and dried meat and mashed and all this stuff, and they give you a scoop, and by the time they got to me and a few others, I think Todd, they ran out of the paper cups, and so it was offered to us out of the big jug to drink, whatever the sacred juice was, and then put into our hands, which is this incredible mash of buffalo meat and cherries and corn. And so I ate a few bites, and it was like, oh, the corn's a little crunchy, and the meat and the cherry and everything. Then I had it in my hand, I just kind of put it in the cup in the chair in front of me, and Lily came over and just like slapped me. Holy shit. So I looked at her, and she goes, that's like Holy Communion. I went, okay. And I went and got the cup, and I dumped it back in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I ate every morsel of that. So it was like, it didn't matter if I liked it or didn't like it. It was like, this is ceremony, and you eat what is holy because it is holy, and they did something in their integrity of ancientness. And stand up and do it, Sandy. And so every single bite I took, but it was so sweet. But there's Lily slapping in.
Keeping you in sacred space.
And I'm like, Sandy, get a grip.
Because all of those women that spent all of those days and hours making the wasna, which is backstrap, dried backstrap that is pummeled, and choke cherries and cherry juice and a little bit of tallow that goes into making that. Every one of those women was watching the blonde lady with bright blue eyes to see if she was going to keep up with tradition and honor the tradition. And you did.
I did.
And you
God
did.
bless Lily. Thank you, Lily.
Yes. Yes. And honoring the traditions, honoring the rites of passage of one another, I think is really big right now. And, before we were on the line, I had a client who's from Israel. And, that's another place in the globe that I would love to go, is to experience the culture of that country, but to really begin to appreciate one another and the sacredness of who we are. So whether it's our spirit name, and now, Sandy, whenever anybody says to you that their native name is, Moondoggy Rainbow Cloud, you now the difference between, what is a sacred ceremonial naming and a making of the relative.
Right.
And what is ego speaking.
Well, it's beautiful because the integrity of the name ceremony made so much sense to me based on my own experience of being named, where my mother held the name for me from my conception as Linda. And that was my name. I was Linda. Mm-hmm. And then my aunt gave birth to my cousin Linda just shy a month before me. Mm-hmm. And my mother goes, oh my God, I can't give this kid that name because now it's her cousin's name. And so I was born and was nameless for 3 days. My mother had no name whatsoever for me because I was supposed to be Linda. Anybody that knows my vibration, think about calling me Linda, it wouldn't work.
No.
And back then in 1947, you had a baby and you stayed in the hospital for a week or so. And so my mother was in the hospital recovering, and a nurse walked in 3 days after I was born. No name. 3 days after I'm born, a nurse walks in and celebrates with her voice, "My daughter just gave birth to an angel, and we've named her Sandy." Da, da, da. And my mother literally tells me, throughout my life, "Oh my God, I gave birth to an angel. Her name is Sandy."
Oh,
That's how I got my name.
beautiful.
And so I feel that there was a name ceremony for me, that the angels knew who I was before I did.
Mm-hmm.
God bless my cousin Linda. God maybe rest in peace, for taking that name and having that name, and for allowing my mother to surrender to all that is, that supports the uniqueness of my own soul,
Mm-hmm.
in having to be the sands of time.
Mm-hmm.
So when a name, and I really want to respect people who let me to change their name,
Mm-hmm.
because it is important to have the sound of your name. And Bobby did that. He was always Robert Joseph. His father's name was Robert. They named him Robert Joseph, and so his family to this day call him Robert Joseph. But when he was 22 years old, he changed his name. He goes, I want to be called Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to find another vibration in his name.
Mm-hmm.
So I call Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's name is Bobby, but Bobby's family calls him to this day Robert Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting how he's Robert Joseph to them because that's who he is to them. But Bobby is who he is to the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is amazing. Our name is different to the world. Our name is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting because my brother calls his wife Mrs. Herrick and I call her Debbie, Mrs. Herrick. To him, she is Mrs. Herrick.
Mm.
To me, her name is Debbie. And there's that place of, so let's ask this question of all of you out there. What is your name?
Mm-hmm.
Find your name. If you need someone to support you in finding a name, ask for that support. If you need to change it because it no longer supports you, then find the name that you are. If the name that you have been given is the name that is truly yours, then wear it.
Yes.
Wear it.
Mm-hmm. I found it interesting that in the Hamlecha, because my name is Wakian Towian, and the Wakian represents the thunder and lightning beings. And so normally the translation is Blue Thunder Woman. And during the course of my ceremonies, Ivan kept calling me Blue Lightning Woman.
Yes.
And he wouldn't let go. He knows it's Blue Thunder Woman, but he would not let go of Blue Lightning. So he was taking the lightning half of the thunder and lightning of the thunderers, and he kept referring to me as Blue Lightning Woman. And interesting that both you and Todd were hung up in airspace by lightning.
Honey, I was tied up in airspace in West Palm 2 weeks of lightning and thunder. I got to the airport at maybe 4:30 for my 6-something flight, and the lightning came in. I'm sitting there at 10 o'clock at night going, God damn it. Dana, the lightning was so intense. The thunder was so intense that it was on the whole East Coast. My flight got canceled. I had to be driven home. And it was, the thunder and lightning storms for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I celebrated and again, sitting in an airplane while lightning and thunder is so intense that the crack of the lightning shakes the plane, and you're not allowed to disembark because they will not employ the jetway because of lightning, and they won't take off your luggage because of lightning. I have been pummeled with lightning and thunder in a plane, so I'm in the bullet, riding out into space, riding the waves, and all I can think of, and honor and respect, is that I want to say this the way I want to feel it, not just the way I want to think it, that the thunder clouds and lightning clouds, that the spirit of the ceremony that invited me into your transition of ceremony and the depth of the ceremony and the consequences of being a part of that. And I mean that, the consequences of being a part of that. It followed suit to challenge me, Sandy, with this ceremony is still going on.
Yes.
It's not over till it's over.
That's right.
It's not just South Dakota. I had to fly into the thunder and lightning storms. I flew out of the thunder and lightning storms, even to Hartford when I came home, then into them in West Palm. And so it's amazing how it's challenged my life and gave me life to challenge.
Such is a rite of passage.
Such is a rite of passage.
And with that, Sandy, we're past the top of the hour, so we need to let these beautiful people get about their evening.
Oh, us?
But I'd like to thank you all for holding me in sacred space, in your sacred space, as I was undergoing a rite of passage known as Humblecha or Vision Quest. And to you, Sandy and Kevin and Lily and Todd and Kelly and Della and Del Marie and Guy and Barbara, of course, and Ivan, of course, and I was getting there. And of course, my little sister Lily, for holding me in sacred space through the process of rite of passage. And again, it doesn't matter if it's a rite of passage such as that, or rite of passage of divorce, giving birth to children, death. Rite of passage is a rite of passage, and for everyone, there is no time limit. There is no prescription for the time. It's all personal. It's individual. And who was there in your rite of passage? Who held space for you? Who held you? Who was there with you? And because no one's life is unscathed or unchanged by either holding someone through a rite of passage or walking through a rite of passage. So Sandy, thank you for participating in a beautiful rite of passage in my life.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And I just want to say karmically, here we go again. There we are again. And I want to be able to say that this year, so far, is one of the most powerful years in the evidence of rite of passage for almost everybody that I know.
I agree.
Everyone's being challenged.
I agree.
I mean, the funerals I have attended or facilitated, the marriages, the births, the accidents that are taking lives or challenging lives and shifting lives. We are all on the razor's edge. Everybody.
Yes.
And it is important for me to be able to share with everybody that nobody is being left out of the opportunity to sit on that edge and quest the purpose of your life.
Yes.
I have lost some of the dearest people I love in this life this year. I have embraced some of the dearest people again in this life in this year. And I am done with some of the dearest people in my life this year. It's amazing.
Yes, beautifully said. And with that, next month when Sandy and I are together, we're going to be talking about a subject, when the life that you take is your own.
Right.
And we've been asked to talk about that, and we are going to have discussion about that next month on Looking Deeper. When the life that you take is your own. So with that, everyone, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for being you, for shining your light. Last words, Sandy.
Holy moly. Everybody just be allowing to yourself to be yourself. Amen. Thank you for listening.
Perfect.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Sandy.
Good night, Dana.